Hello class, today I'm going to be presenting my How to Skate website, and right here we got it set up into 4 categories. I have the hardware / setup, the clothing / footwear, safety, and the basics. Now really the how-to part is mainly on the basics, which is the skateboarding, but everything else is kind of just like extra icing on the cake. If you actually wanted to learn how to skate and wanted to know the extra things like how to build one, what kind of shoes to wear, and safety gear if you wanted to. But for now, I'll just go through the basics first. So I use 3 steps on getting people to start out skating. First step being determining your stance. There's either normal or goofy. Second one is how to get on the skateboard. The third part is how to actually skate. So click here on the stance page. Show you how to determine your stance. So there's 2 stances. A normal being the left foot in the front. Goofy is your right foot in the front. I present you with 3 methods. The first method is to think about your dominant foot, which is like the foot that you mainly use first without thinking. And then place this foot at the back of the board and then try skating with that and see how that feels. Second method would be having someone push you in the back from your back. And the foot that you use to put forward to stabilize yourself is your dominant foot. So that's the foot you should try putting in the back. And then the third method, if you're not really sure, you could always just try both normal and goofy and seeing which one works out for you. When I started out, it only took a few minutes for me to figure out that goofy was what worked best for me, because it just clearly felt a lot more comfortable than normal. Next page. Getting on the skateboard. And over here I talk about basically a recap of the video that I made earlier. First step being plant your feet behind the back truck. Second step being put your front foot on the front bolts and pushing it up against your back leg so it doesn't go anywhere, so you don't slip up and fall. And then the third step being to quickly move your back foot up and back on the board. And you're now standing on a skateboard. And then lastly, there's the skating part. Over here I'll show you how to ride. But the first thing that you should do is to try to get used to balancing on one foot, because every time you push yourself forward, you got to balance on your front foot. Meaning you have your front foot on there and your back foot is going to be out and to the side, pushing. So with your feet planted, put your back foot on the ground in front of you, and then put your front foot and align it either straight ahead or a little bit angled to the side, but still mostly forward. Third, you bring your back foot up and in front of you, and you take a big step forward and push yourself forward with the ball of your foot. And then after you're done pushing, because you might push a few times or maybe once, you move your back foot back on the board and keep riding. And then go over a few tips on correct skating posture. Talk about your foot placement. So when you're riding on the board, a lot of people try to keep their feet like completely perpendicular, like straight ahead, facing front and back, and that usually works fine. But if you've got like big feet and your feet take up a lot of the board, you're not going to get a lot of contact with the feet and the board. So it's a good idea to try to kind of tilt them diagonally, kind of like how this guy's doing it at an angle, so that way you get more contact with the board and you feel more secure and firm. And then the shoulder upper body part. So when you're skating, you're gonna want to keep your shoulders or your upper body like facing a little bit to the front, and then when you're pushing, you're actually gonna be facing to the front for the most part. Because every time you turn on a skateboard, you're gonna want to like turn your shoulders in the direction that you're gonna be moving at, because that makes the balance of the board lean in that direction, kind of like with a motorcycle or a bicycle. And then you got the legs. So when you're skating, you do not want to straighten out your knees, because locking them out will cut out your blood circulation, and it increases the amount of like vibrations that your knees and muscles will feel. So that would like give you long-term damage, like damaging your knees. So if you bend it slightly like that, it kind of lets you use your leg muscles as a cushioning effect, so your knees don't take all the damage from all the vibrations of skating on the floor. Alright, so that's basically the how-to part of the video. And then this other stuff is just like the extra if you really wanted to build and get started on it. So in this page I talk about the hardware, and you got like the decks, which is the board part of the skateboard. It just doesn't really matter too much what kind of deck you get, as long as it's the proper size. I talk about the right size that works for you. And then you got your wheels. There's two different kinds of categories there's two factors in deciding your wheels. You got the diameter, which is how big they are, and the durometer, which is how hard they are, which depending on where you're skating at, the hardness does matter. Because if you've got like really hard wheels and you try skating out in bumpy roads with a bunch of cracks and pebbles, you're not going to have a good time. And then you got the bearings, which is the little ring looking things that go inside your wheels. That's what keeps the wheels spinning and going. And Bones Reds are like the basic cheap ones that get the job done and are pretty good. Then you got the trucks, which is what attaches the wheels to the skateboard itself. I talk about what size trucks to get depending on the deck that you get. And then everything else, like the grip tape, hardware, risers, and then a little link on how to build your skateboard if you end up buying parts for it. Up next, I got the footwear page. I talk about 3 categories of footwear, which will be the shoe type, sole type, and the shoe material. So the shoe type, there's 3 main ones: high tops, low tops, mid tops, and then you got like sole types, which are cup soles, and then vulcanized soles. And then shoe material. There's a lot of material out there that you could use for skating, but really the only 2 I could recommend would be suede and canvas. That's all the shoe stuff. Lastly, I got the safety page. I divided safety into 2 categories: safety gear and then safe behavior / habits. I go over the big safety gear being the helmets, pads like knee pads, elbow pads. Shoes and socks too are technically safety gear. And then I talk about the habits, like how to properly fall by bending your joints and letting momentum do its thing and roll you around instead of coming to a sudden stop. And then don't forget to practice common sense. Just know your limits and operate within those limits. Yeah, that's everything. That's all, the whole website. Thank you guys for watching.